Welcome to the Attractions Group podcast. This is episode 38. My name's Ryan Sir. With me, as always, is Don Helbig. Don, how you doing today?
Doing great.
That's
How about
great
you?
to hear. All right. Well, so for those of you who are listening for the first time, welcome. You can follow us on Twitter at attractions_GRP. You can find us on YouTube for the video version of this podcast by searching for the Attractions Group podcast. You can find us on all your favorite podcast apps, Google, Spotify, Apple, and so on by searching for the Attractions Group podcast. We have a link in the description where you can make a small donation to the show through the Buy Me a Coffee link. And for those of you who are listening, make sure you stick around because sometime later in the show, we're going to be giving away some prizes that you guys earned through our social media. So, Don, before we get started, I heard you have a new side hustle. What's going on with that?
Yeah, a new side hustle. I launched a Substack. The last couple years, every time I go to a Reds game, which every summer I go to a lot, a lot of my friends and that would say, "Why do you keep going to all the games?" Because they were last place, and I would always say, "Well, the thing is, I'm a Reds fan, so I'm going to go. I'm going to support the team. I liked watching the young players develop and all those kind of things." So I decided to start a Substack. I used that theme that I would always tell people. It is called "Thing Is, I'm a Reds fan," and a couple times, 3-4 times a week, I will write about some different things going on with the Reds, some different news notes, historical type things, and it comes right into your email. And it's you subscribe. There is a paid version, but there's also the free version. So if you're a Reds fan, check it out.
Awesome. Cool. Well, good luck with that. That sounds really exciting. I am a subscriber. I'm a paid subscriber. And the first couple articles have been cool because it's not your typical over analysis of the statistics of the game that nobody understands or cares about but you. One article that was really cool was kind of the history of the Great American Ballpark because it turned 20. And then what was it? The top 10 Reds first baseman?
Top five,
Top five. Top
first
five.
baseman, and I'm going to go around the diamond. So once a week, like this week, it'll be second baseman. Then I'll go third baseman, shortstop, and then move around the outfield, catcher, starting pitcher, relief pitcher, and that'll take 10 weeks to get all of that in. But just a lot of fun. And then there's also with these kind of features that I do, like the top first baseman. There's also several different nuggets, news and notes, who's hot, who's not, that kind of thing.
That's awesome. Cool. You could do top 10 designated hitters before 2020. So you have to do your research for when they played away games at American League fields and who was a designated hitter and then rank them.
Yeah,
So
first Reds designated hitter, by the way. Do you know who it was?
I have no idea who it was.
1976 World Series, Danny Dreesen.
Okay. I was thinking modern era. So I was thinking like India or something like that.
I still look at 76 as being kind of modern, Ryan.
Well, I was thinking modern as in, having the designated hitter in the National League.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Well,
sure.
I didn't mean modern. Anyway, this is not getting off on the right foot, Don. It's already not going well. Okay, so yeah, so what do we have on the docket today?
Well, Ryan, when you go to Orlando to visit places like Universal Studios, Disney World, you're going there for all the thrill rides and all those kind of things. But give kids the World Village. It's different. Tonight we're going to be talking about this storybook resort where children with critical illnesses and their families are treated to week-long, cost-free vacations. And with that, we'd like to welcome in our guest, Steve Amos, and he is the VP of Advancement. How you doing, Stephen?
Great. Thanks for having me on tonight. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with Give Kids a World?
Sure. I am been down in Florida for about just over 15 years. I got my start working in Disney marketing. Spent about a decade over there, opening up the Disney Dream, Disney Fantasy cruise ships, working on some of the park activations like filming the Christmas Day Parade or some attraction filming. And then my last role with the Walt Disney Company is working for their Yellow Shoes creative agency, working as a producer. So working on the billboard campaigns, and a lot of that work happens third shift. Disney really has the power to add enough light to make it look like it's daytime in the middle of the night, or do a lot of those interior type shots. And what was happening was I was working, midnight to 8 a.m. and then not knowing what to do with my time when I got home. So then I started volunteering in the middle of the day over at Give Kids the World. They're a property that needs 1,800 volunteers a week to operate. And then after about a year, I fell in love with it. I had my first child. My life had a little bit more perspective of what I really value. And then in 2017, I moved over full time, working at Give Kids the World now.
That's awesome.
Well, Stephen, take us back to 1986. How does the Give Kids the World Village story begin?
Sure. It's the process for a wish fulfillment was very scattered prior to Give Kids the World. There are wish granting organizations all across the world. And then we start looking at, wish granting organizations like Make-A-Wish. There's Make-A-Wish Iowa, there's Make-A-Wish Ohio, and they were not all organized like they are today. The wishes weren't equitable. They were taking 3, 4, 5 months because that local wish granting organization in that community would have to call a hotel, call Disney to get tickets, get a car rental. And a lot of these places rely on volunteers. So the time was just taking, it was too long. Children weren't able to make it to their wish because of these barriers of time. And what happened was our founder, Henry Landworth, was a hotel owner just outside of the Disney World property, had the first Holiday Inn over on the Westgate side of the property there. And every time he got a call, he would take them. He lost his childhood. He's a Holocaust survivor. So he definitely understands what it is to lose so much in life. And then, he took a call from a wish child named Amy, and there was a cancellation. Time had passed, and something really stuck with Henry. And he said, what do we need to be doing? So he reached out to Make-A-Wish and some of the other larger wish granting organizations across the country and said, what do you need? And they all said the same thing. We need a place. We need a place that the kids can come to where it is a streamlined, seamless process that, even today, if we got a call right now, they could come tomorrow and start their wish. And that's exactly what we need to be doing for that. So over the last 37 years, we've now welcomed over 185,000 wish children. And the desire to come to Central Florida, it's the number one wish. Every other child in the entire world who has a wish comes to Central Florida. And it's because, what these attractions have to offer and the seamless process that we make it for these wish granting partners.
Well, that's really cool and very interesting story. So Give Kids the World is not just an organization; it's a place. There's Give Kids the World Village. Can you talk about the experience that kids and families have when they visit Give Kids the World Village?
Yeah, it's a true destination. When you look at a place like Disneyland Park, that's 85 acres. We're 89 acres. We are a sprawling campus where there's 166 houses for these kids to stay at. They all have 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, living room, kitchen, dining room. It's a true house for these families when they come here for their week-long cost-free vacation. But then the property itself we are a theme park too. We have 4 attractions that are all wheelchair accessible. And when we talk about accessibility, the children don't need to transfer out of their wheelchairs to ride our attractions. Zamperla retrofitted 3 of our newest attractions that a wheelchair can actually go onto the attraction and bolt in. So we have a Dumbo attraction, for example. It's a spinner attraction where you can pedal to go up and down, but they created that if you don't have mobility in your legs, you can actually hand crank to go up and down. We have a swing attraction there where they ripped out the middle section and then we can lock in the wheelchair. Our train that goes around our property, one of the ride vehicle cars, the wall is actually a ramp to allow that child in a wheelchair to ride. But then also you look at the property, we have a movie theater, we have a spa, we have a place called Olivia's Oasis where parents can now get massages when they're on their wish trips there. We have 3 dining locations. We have a horse corral, sports courts. It really is an all-inclusive resort for these wish kids. And it's never busy. There's no queues or lines at Give Kids World. We have attractions, but there's no lines. And those attractions operate 12, 14 hours a day. And if you want to ride the carousel 25 times in a row, you're more than welcome to. There is never a queue to kick you out of the attraction. So it really is a special place that it's just right outside the gates of Walt Disney World for these families. So they can zip into the parks during the daytime. They have these accelerated passes that get them to the front of line of everywhere at Disney, Universal, and SeaWorld. And then they retreat back to the property around 5 o'clock and enjoy our parties and our activities in the evening.
Yeah, Stephen, a couple of years ago, I had a chance to tour the village and, really, touched by what I saw and just a magical place. Talk about the impact that the village has.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never able to say a line of like, I know what you're going through. I don't know. I have 2 children who are healthy. They have a bad cough. I call my dad right away and say, can you listen to this? These parents truly have been to hell and back. And for something, it's camaraderie that when they're there, there's 165 other families who do know what they're going through. There's a community there where no one's looking at their child because, they don't have hair or their child's in a wheelchair. nobody talks religion or politics in the walls of Give Kids the World. It's something where there's no doctors, there's no poking prodding. We encourage you to eat ice cream for breakfast when you're on your wish trip there. So there's something special within the walls of the village. It restores some hope and optimism for these kids. And for some of them who've been in the hospital for, years of their lives, it's something that it's a North Star for them. It's something they're looking forward to, and they're getting the treatments. It's something that they continue to fight for. So when they get this beautiful vacation, it's everything that they hope for. And we try to build that community for when they leave the park, that the conversation doesn't end there. So it's something, it's truly special. I never thought I'd leave the Walt Disney Company. That is a very wonderful place with a lot of roles and opportunities. But the real impact is, the kids are still going to Disney World. Mickey Mouse still comes to Give Kids the World. I still have that in my life, but there's something a little bit more special about that impact you have with those Wish kids.
You're doing incredible work. I mean, and it's known absolutely the world over. But you mentioned that you had retrofitted rides, you got several attractions, you got ice cream for breakfast. How was
Yeah.
this all made possible?
Yeah, it's twofold. We have incredible relationships. When you look at a partner like Disney, Universal, or SeaWorld, I mean, they do in-kind the tickets. So, imagine what the cost of 8,000 three-day park hopper tickets would be at Walt Disney World right now. It's over $20 million. So the theme parks are excited because they're part of this process now where it's streamlined for them also. So they get involved in very unique ways. I mean, not only does Disney provide the park tickets, one of the biggest things is they do our laundry. That's over $1 million. Imagine 166, basically houses where they turn that over 8,000 times a year for us. That's a huge win. They send the characters to us. I mean, they do our telecom services. They do our pest management. These theme park partners, the whole IAPA industry is somehow involved at Give Kids the World. And you wouldn't know it because we don't allow any partners to promote their brand while they're on property with us. I mean, nobody would know that Vekoma bought our carousel for us 27 years ago. But they did. And that's a relationship that's still special to this day. But then I also manage a team of about 20. And it's our marketing and our fundraising team. So we are out in the communities trying to fundraise those. It's about $15 million cash a year that we need to raise, and about $35 million in kinds that we have to raise. And, for people, of course, who are in the industry, costs are only going up exponentially. Labor is not what it used to be a couple of years ago for us. So it's true partnerships and awareness, like shows like this that really are helping to make it all possible.
Incredible.
Stephen, you mentioned 185,000 kids have visited this village. That's an awful lot of smiles that you put on the faces of these kids and the family with what they're able to do when they're there for that week.
It is. And 28,000 children every single year are diagnosed with a life-threatening or critical illness. So, we're only really scratching the surface. We are always growing. When we started the property, we had eight villas. We're up to 166. Our blueprint of our 10-year strategy shows we're building 48 more villas on property. It's we never like to brag about big numbers. It's our ultimate goal is that we go out of business. We've solved everything, but that's not the case. So what we're proud of is that we're able to continue to fulfill all the wishes that are out there that are needed. But like you said, it's we don't have shareholders. It's the kids, and there's something really special about someone who is a donor or a volunteer or someone who's spreading awareness. And Don, you said you've been there. It's a rare charity where you get to go there. You can see that impact in real time, and every story is so special. You look at like a state like Ohio, every 16 hours, a wish child from the state of Ohio is coming to Give Kids the World. So the impact across this whole country, and a lot of people don't even realize that they know someone who's been to Give Kids the World. A lot of people know, I know a wish child that went to Disney World. Again, being the VP that covers marketing, being the best kept secret is like no VP of marketing's like favorite slogan. We wish that everybody knew the name. But we take great pride that 91 cents of every dollar goes back to the mission, because I don't spend any money on proactive marketing. We don't need to. We don't need to be recruiting wish kids to come to Give Kids the World. So it's that struggle of how will someone know what we're doing out there? It's the wish families who are going back into the community and sharing the stories of that impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned like your goal is essentially to go out of business, because I always thought that about doctors. Their goal is to get everyone healthy, but if everyone's healthy, then what are they going to do?
Yeah.
No, you mentioned that like a lot of things costs are rising, and that's no secret to anybody. What are some of the fundraisers you guys do? The one I'm most familiar with is Coasting for Kids, but talk about Coasting for Kids as well as everything else you do to raise funds.
Yeah, I mean, Coasting for Kids is one of the most fun ones, of course. That you know, that's a that started off as a Cedar Fair initiative almost 20 years ago, which is dating itself back to the origins of it all. But that is an event now it's across the country. The families and coaster enthusiasts, if they raise $100, the theme park opens the gates for free, and they do early access to the attractions. There's a meal included, a cool T-shirt. It's a way that a lot of the theme park partners, you get to be part of that story. They get to host an event where they get to see 200 300 wish kids and their family members out there in the parks, and that's an event that raises just under $200,000 a year. And when we talk about the IAPA relationships, it's bountiful. It is incredible. I mean, for people who have been on the IAPA show floor in November, it's constant. We host a 5K. We do a motorcycle ride. We do a golf classic. All of those things are continuing to grow for the mission. And I think there's just something very relatable with the industry that understands what the true value and the impact is at Give Kids a World. And something that Don had the absolute pleasure of hosting, and we're forever grateful for, was our national bus tour we did last summer. And we kind of talked about when does this what's the continued story once the family leaves Give Kids the World. And what happened was we were starting to do Coasting for Kids across the country, and these events are having 30, 40, 50 wish families at them. And these families are looking at each other going like, do you live in Cincinnati also? And like, yeah, but they didn't know. There was no, network or camaraderie being built post-Wish. So then we decided to load up a tour bus last summer, travel 4,000 miles every single day. We woke up in a new state and we were in a new theme park, ranging from, Dollywood to Carowinds to Sesame Place to Kings Island. Every single day we held this blockbuster event where, Kings Island welcomed over 500 wish kids and their family members. And it's this impact where these families are continuing to raise funds after their wish trip's been completed, because they want to be part of that next generation of wish kids that are coming out to Give Kids a World. So, we do the traditional 5K, we do the golf classics, we do a lot of those types of things. But when we get back out into outside of Florida, it's the theme park partners who are the ones who are opening their gates and their arms to allow us to have a venue to do some fundraising at.
Awesome.
So talk about the summer road trip that you have planned this year. What are the different stops that you're going to be making on that trip?
It is soon to be released, but I have no qualms sharing anything. So this summer we are kicking off the tour in Texas, and then we're going north. And then the bus gets up to about Six Flags Great America area, down to Holiday World. And then we are getting all the way back down to, we'll be in Kings Island. That's a repeat location for us, which is big. But, Texas is one of those states where, we've welcomed just under 12,000 wish kids from Texas. So when we talk about Dallas and San Antonio, those types of locations, it's going to be a situation where the park capacity will not be able to hold the amount of wish kids that are in that community who would want to come out to an event like that. And for us, again, that's just a sign that we need to be getting out more often. And Cincinnati and Six Flags Over Georgia will be two repeat parks for us. It'll be interesting to see. I assume everybody who had a great experience is going to want to come out again. Plus, we've cultivated a whole nother set of families over the last year who are going to want to stay connected. So it's a great concept. Wish kids are able to raise, if they fundraise a certain amount of money this year, they get to have a star placed on the bus. And the star is something that, I assume you went into the castle. The castle is the most special building that Give Kids the World has, because everything that we do at the village is designed for the entire family. Siblings have been impacted because, oftentimes parents are at the hospital with the wish child through treatment. They're staying at uncle's, aunts, they're at grandma and grandpa's house. But we want, when they're at the village, to have a family experience. At one point, the dining locations are spread out across property. So we saw, mom and daughter eating in one location and then dad and son eating somewhere else. And that's not what we wanted. So we created this consolidated approach. However, the castle is the one location that is really dedicated for the wish children. And when they check in, we give them a gold star. And they can write their name, date. They can draw. They can do whatever they want with that star. But it's a tangible piece that stays with the village forever. And we hang it up on our ceiling in our castle. And again, it's one of those things that, how can you define what, the number 180,000 looks like? Well, you get into our castle and you look up at the ceiling and you look in the Star Tower and all the buildings that we've had to add on since then. That's that impact. So when you look at the tour bus this summer, it's going to be full of stars. And our Wish families will definitely know what that impact really means.
Yeah, I've been in the castle, and you're right. I mean, it's very impactful when you see that and know that that's how many different families that have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I've actually I've heard of that too. Very very touching in a lot of ways. But so another way that you guys raise funds is through auctions. Tell us a little bit about the auctions, like the sort of things that come up to be available through the auctions.
It's funny. There's a gentleman who used to be over at Kennywood, Nick Paradise, and he reached out to me. He's very competitive, and he specifically chose the Coasting for Kids used to all be on the same date throughout the year, and now we allow the parks to pick a slower weekend. So some of them kick off in June, some of them are going through September. I mean, Canopy Lake, for crying out loud, is hosting a Halloween-based event for their Coasting for Kids. But Nick always chose to go last because he wanted to see how much every other park raised and see how much money he needed to raise to always get number one. We created a $15 plaque that was a mini people competed for. And he said, hey, we're decommissioning Logjammer. And there's, the public outcry is not the most positive news when you remove that attraction. And they're trying to figure out, can we auction off a Logjammer ride vehicle for the village for our Coasting for Kids page? And we said, of course. And the thing raised $12,000 in the auction. The best part of it all was this guy comes, picks it up. Nick's really great at getting local media affiliates out there. So he has a couple. This is on YouTube. I watch it whenever I feel like I've done something really kind of like dumb. I go back to this media clip and go, well, at least I wasn't this guy. I love him to death, but he's on air and he's talking about what am I going to do with this ride vehicle? He goes, well, I'm a realtor. I'm going to float this log flume down the river and I'm going to talk about my real estate business. And that's where Nick's like, the log flume doesn't float. It's a ride vehicle. It's going to sink. And I think this guy had this realization that he just spent $12,000 on a ride vehicle. That's like, oh yeah, I'm still good with this. And then Nick's great because he goes, do you have a bidder who bid 11,900 then? We go, yeah. He goes, sell it. Sell through as many as you can. So Kennywood over the years now has probably raised $50,000 or $60,000. And right now, my director of development is actually having dinner with the park president from Kennywood to talk about, what do they want to add. But Busch Gardens Williamsburg is cutthroat also. And last year, they had a Big Bad Wolf ride vehicle. They had a Loch Ness Monster front car from the 40th anniversary. And then this year, they were taking down Mock Tower. And the park's like, do you want anything? And I was like, I'll take literally anything you are willing to give me off your drop tower attraction. And I said, up to the point of, I said, can I have your test seat? And they go, sure. And they said, can I have all of the signage? They go, sure. And the test seat sold for over $1,000. And I was like, can I have all your control panels? And they go, no, we cut the line. We're drawing the line at control panels for you. I was like, all right, I just wanted to test to see how far we can go. But that park, these parks now across the country. And the other funny one that we have is Lake Compounds. A Palace, park, a sister park to Kennywood, was like, oh, we want to participate also. And this is the year that the Logjammer was out there. And they offered up their Logjammer ride vehicle that Kennywood had donated to them for parts in case that their log flume attraction were to break. And that's where Nick at Kennywood was like, how dare you sell a Logjammer ride vehicle for your auction? That's our gift that we gave you for parts. But it's all friendly competition within the industry. They're all competing to raise the most funds for the village. So it's been really special to see the parks getting involved at that level, because these coaster enthusiasts, these clubs, Ace and Coaster Crew, they're hustling. We just got a $6,000 gift from Ace in the mail last week from a pledge that they wanted to make to give Kids World to fulfill the cost of a wish. But Ace has a team in every single location that they go to. And they typically win every single one. Ace has raised over $100,000 in Coasting for Kids over the past 10 years. So there's a lot of these loyal groups out there who definitely understand why a wish child would want to go to a theme park. It's an easy alignment for them.
Let's touch base real quick about Ace and Coasting for Kids. A lot of coaster enthusiasts, it's all about how many rides I can, accrue in one day or something at a park. They love marathoning the rides. What I found in my involvement with Coasting for Kids events, both being part on the, just overseeing it at the park, the function, but also being a participant at other parks, is it doesn't take long for all the participants to realize that, what they're doing, what it's about, what it's for. And as they meet these families that are there those days, totally different perspective about it. And then it takes on a whole new meaning when you're riding the rides over and over again. It's not just, building up your ride count. There's a totally different meaning to that. And I found that to be very rewarding, to watch how everyone kind of understood what this day was about when they're doing that event.
That's 100% true. And what we saw on the bus tour this past year is that, there was coasting for kids available in some of the parks that we went to. But in exchange this past year, we said, would you rather be a volunteer as an ACER instead of, it was, Dollywood was the example of like, you guys have, it's Wildwood Grove. Like you've done these attractions, they're very flat ride-esque. Do you really need to be doing ERT on those? Or do you want to be out there actually with the families? And they all agreed to be the volunteers at the event. And I think you're right. That's where they see that difference. They meet the families. They get to have a conversation. And I think, they raised funds to volunteer, which is kind of a funny thought process, but they had a better understanding. And we've seen this whole shift now where it's an 80-20 split. Now 80% of the riders that come to Coasting for Kids are Wish families and 20% are coaster enthusiasts, because we used to spend all of our time trying to get coaster enthusiasts out there. And that's where, that like it was Busch Gardens and Kenny were like, why are you limiting the number? We never told you to cut it at 75 people. Trying to get 75 coaster enthusiasts in a city is a challenge. But as soon as you start introducing and welcoming Wish families, then the floodgates open. And the theme parks love to see that. They want to have that impact on that one day where, 400 Wish kids and their family members are out there. And I made this dig by accident. It was Six Flags St. Louis. I have nothing against the park. I assume they're a wonderful park. We're seeing them on the bus tour this summer. And their park president, who's now the park president of Six Flags Great America, he's a dual president. The conversation was not a lot of kids are wishing to come to Six Flags St. Louis. I mean, when a child is given a wish, they will probably go to Disney World if they're looking for a theme park. But what they said is they want to be part of the story. So that's why they do the IAPA World Passport program, because if they're not wishing to come to Six Flags St. Louis, they want to see the Wish kids. And the IAPA World Passport program is the ultimate best annual pass you could have. It's when a family leaves Give Kids the World, there are now 200 theme parks and FECs across the country now that will allow the Wish family to go there for free for 1 year. So you get these families now who are leaving Orlando and will drive back north to their home, and they'll stop at all these locations. They'll stop at the Six Flags. Every single Cedar Fair park is on the list. Every single Six Flags, Hershey. It's these blockbuster parks because they said they want to be part of that story where they get to see those Wish kids while they're there. So again, it's overwhelming how the IAPA industry is, through the pandemic, they were the ones calling us to see how we were doing. And there's something special about that industry where, there was no competition for a little while there. Everybody was just making sure that everybody was okay. And I thought that was, it really kind of reaffirmed that, we're proud to be aligned with that type of industry.
Awesome.
Very well, Stephen, what's new this year at Give Kids the World?
We got a couple things. So this next week we open up, we've been soft opening right now, but it's called Olivia's Oasis. So Give Kids the World has a gym. It's called the G.I. Joe gym. I've been there for 6 years now, and I've never seen anybody ever work out at Give Kids the World. Our ice cream parlor is directly next to our gym. So I think you hit this crossroads in your life of like, I'm here for a week. I'm going to eat ice cream every single meal. So we decided to take out the gym about 6 months ago. And we worked with partners like Massage Envy because our big initiative this year, we're focusing on how do we take care of caretakers, the parents, the doctors, the nurses, grandparents, everybody who's been, who's also been stressed out and has had a lot of, burden on them over the last couple of years. How do we take care of them? So at Give Kids the World, if you've ever been to Walt Disney World, the Bippity Boppity Boutique is known as like, you can get this overlay of princess or prince. We have that there at the Village also. Hasbro built that for us. So, kids can get their hair done, have nails done. We have an airbrush tattoo parlor because why wouldn't you want to have that? But in the place of the gym, so now while the kids are getting all looking beautiful, the parents can now break away to this new location that opens up next Tuesday. And it's 4 different rooms with massage chairs, different things for the parents that they can get while at the same time. So we're taking care of the kids and the parents in the same venue. And then we're breaking ground next month with a company called Adirondack Studios. And they're really well known for, they built the queues for Flight of Passage and Rise of the Resistance, a really incredible company here in Central Florida. and we're building a STEAM facility. So Garner Holt, who is well known for all of their animatronics across the country, is building an animaker space at Give Kids the World. So now kids are going to be able to learn how to make animatronics on their wish trip. But also in the venue, the other half of it is kids are going to learn how to do 3D printing, modeling. There's going to be soldering. There's going to be robotics in there. There are so many manufacturers and suppliers in Central Florida that want to be part of this process too. So probably opening next January or February, the best laid plans will be eventually, essentially what I call like if Interventions was still around today, the 2023 version of it, but we received a multi-million-dollar gift from a single donor to make a STEM facility for the, we're looking at teenagers now because Don, you've been there. Our attractions are very much, they're for, all ages, but they might be geared more towards a 4, 5, 6. I sometimes ride the train and it's cramped. So Mayor Clayton's Wonder Lab, which is our STEM facility, is really going to be designed for all ages, but a huge focus on that 12 to 18-year-olds that come for their wishes.
That's awesome. I like how you're catering to older kids too. And one thing that kind of rings with me is that this is something that I've kind of thought was unique about Give Kids the World in a lot of instances for years now is that if you've got a sick brother or sister, that affects the whole family. I mean, everybody is suffering on behalf of that. So I like how everybody's kind of treated. You don't forget the fact that there's other people in that pod with them. So I think that's really cool. That
It's the siblings of a wish child are like the most fearless, protective siblings you've ever met in your life. It like makes me emotional when I see the interactions of a sibling with their wish child because they've grown up with that their entire life and they're protective and they're passionate and it is a life that they're not deterred. They don't ever judge them based off of their being in a wheelchair or anything. It's again, I got 2 kids of my own now who are 3 and 5. So now I look at these children and I just go, they are so mature for their age. And they've gone through so much. And so that's why we try to give them this week here where they don't think about anything on this trip except for how do they have fun and how do they terrorize their parents. It's funny. We were just doing this Wi-Fi bandwidth study at the village ago. Do we need to be increasing internet? And we did this usage study, and it's fascinating. So the parents, the internet Wi-Fi usage at the village, even up until 2:00 in the morning, is high in the villas. So clearly people are laying down in bed exhausted and just sitting there on their phones. But it's, these parents they're getting their work cut out for them. It's something that's kind of, I would never have thought of this until I started working there is that, anybody can attempt to do a 14-hour theme park day and they think they can do it. And you might get to the end of the day and then you wake up that next morning with a whole lot of regret. That's most days that I play with my children extensively as I wake up with a bad back. I saw this golf cart vehicle that was elongated. It was custom made, and it's this breakfast buffet vehicle. So sometimes a wish child will wake up feeling sick. Sometimes family will feel exhausted that they don't want to walk down to the breakfast hall. So we have a breakfast buffet golf cart that you can call, and it'll drive directly into your driveway. And then you can just go out of your house, get all the same food, and then eat in your own kitchen. And then we convert that golf cart in the evening to be fresh baked cookies and lemonade. So I dream of a world that I can live in a world where there is a vehicle that drives around handing out fresh baked chocolate chip cookies and lemonade for me. But it's one of those things that you're tripping over the special things that happen at the village. And I want to highlight one more is that we celebrate holidays at the village in a very special way. Every single day of the week is a different holiday. A lot of these kids have missed out on holidays, or the unfortunate reality is that they might not make it to the next holiday. So, for example, Thursday, it's Christmas every Thursday at Give Kids the World. Santa comes, it snows, there's some parade floats, there's a toy shop for the kids there, there's inflatables, there's lights. It's a really special event. Every Monday is Halloween. And then on Wednesdays, it is Mayor Clayton's surprise birthday party. We have a 6-foot-tall bunny rabbit. He's our Mickey Mouse. And the kids get together for a birthday party, and they surprise Mayor Clayton, and they have cake, and it is a celebration. So these families are coming back from the park at 4 or 5 o'clock because they had it's called the Wish Pass or the Genie Pass or the Express Pass, depending on what park you're going to. They can go ride, right now, they can ride Tron 10 times in a row if they want to. There's no limit or waits for Wish Kids. So they can complete a Magic Kingdom style park in 6 hours if they want to. So that's why we see all 1,000 of the Wish kids and the family members and the siblings coming back in the evening and celebrating Christmas or Halloween or birthday with us. When I was talking to Lauren and Leah up at Holiday World, I was like, we basically have a mini little Holiday World park at Give Kids a World, because we really do go through the carousel holidays. The only thing we don't do that they do is we don't really celebrate Thanksgiving weekly. So it's something that's really special.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, you mentioned volunteers and fundraisers and stuff. Where can people find information on how to get involved?
Yeah, volunteering is so critical to us. When we talk about this increase in labor costs, we save $8 million a year with volunteer labor, offsetting things that looking at what a park would be having to staff. It takes about 22,000 active volunteers a year to fill 1,800 shifts a week. And that ranges from, serving breakfast to, the gift giving for the Wish kids to, operating instructions to working at our pool parties. We save all of the fun shifts for the volunteers, and then we let all the boring stuff go to the staff who works on my team. So and the time commitment it should not be overwhelming at all. If you have 2 hours available on your vacation in Orlando, we want you. If you're going to go to Disney Springs, you're going to go shop at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, come serve breakfast. You can do your orientation all online. If you do that one shift and that's all you do with us ever, that's fine. There is no minimum requirement, and you can start volunteering at as young as the age of 12 in our dining area. So it's a great family experience. If you're coming out with some middle school or high schoolers and you want them to kind of see the village, it's the opportunity to come into our gates, because Give Kids World's not open to the public. You have to have a reason to be there, which is the special part about, the 5K is the only time that, unless you're volunteering, you get to come unless you know me or you know somebody there. But it is volunteering is something so impactful. It is, when we read our guest scores, it's the storytelling that they hear about these volunteers who give up the gift of time to be there with our families. And for them, Pam always says the volunteers they get more than they give. There is something that renews something in your spirit when you get to have those interactions with the Wish families, and the Wish families are it's so special. I mean, I was so moved by my volunteer experience there that I ended up leaving Walt Disney World to go there, and at that point, it was a big step backwards in my career. But for me, it was fulfillment and happiness. I always joke, my job at Disney, it's like people would go, the title was producer at Walt Disney World. Like, how cool of a title is that? But then I always, when I came home, I was like, I still complained about my hours, my boss, my salary. Like, nothing was ever enough for me. And then when I took a job at the Village, like, how dare I ever complain about anything? And it's something that's so overwhelming that you meet these Wish families, and they're thanking you for everything that you're doing. Like, you're the people that have gone through so much in your life that, like, it is a perspective change from a volunteer or staff perspective. You have to come out to this place to see it. To believe it. I always tell people, when I explain Give Kids a World, it's a run-on sentence. I'm like, there's rides and a pool and a spa, and they're like, I don't even understand what you're saying anymore. That sounds like a fictional place. But when you come out to the place, you really do believe it.
Absolutely. Now, is there information for how to get involved, like on your website or?
Yep. If you just go to givekidsworld.org, volunteer is a big old button on there. And I said that was a silver lining of the pandemic. We made everything digital now. So orientation used to be in person for a couple hours. You had to choose a very specific time. Now, if you're in Missouri and you want to do that orientation 2 months before your trip, have at it. And you get to select your shift, so you know what you're doing before you come there. So if you really want to be the train operator that day, you better believe it's so awesome that you can. There are some attractions that, with enough training on site, you can operate an attraction at Give Kids the World.
That's cool. We'll link to your website in the description as well.
Appreciate it.
Stephen, it's really been an honor. Well, first of all, thank you for what you do, of course. I don't think I led off with that, but I should have. But it's been an honor to have you on the show. Will you come back in some time and kind of talk about what you have going on?
Yeah, and I said, of course, and I appreciate it, because, like I said, we don't spend a lot of money on marketing. So it's podcasts and shows like this that really are making it possible, because it just takes one person to tell another person to make this all possible. And I said, this type of audience definitely can understand the correlation of why a child wishes to go to a theme park for their wish, and that's something so special about this industry that I think that's I never want anybody to lose sight that every other kid in the world wants to go ride a ride, and that's special. And I just noticed somehow the sun was up at the beginning of this, and now the sun is completely gone at the end of this, and my lighting is completely awful now.
You're fine. Actually, I noticed that it was sunnier there than it is here,
Yeah,
about a half hour ago. But Stephen,
yeah,
thanks again. We really really appreciate it.
I
So
appreciate
givekidstheworld.org is your website, correct? Again, it'll be
it.
linked
Correct.
in the
Yep.
description. There's information where to donate, how to volunteer. Again, volunteering, you'll get more out of it than you put into it. But it sounds like a kind of cool thing to do. I mean, I wouldn't mind running the train. I'm a grown man and I need an excuse to run a kid's train. Come on.
If you ever wanted to work at Dave and Buster's, we have a full arcade there also. I got a lot of skee ball action when I used to volunteer before I was a staff member there, and I got a lot of that freestyle basketball practice while I was volunteering there also.
Another benefit, you work on your skills. I mean, it's so
Even next time I'm in Orlando, I'm certainly going to volunteer. And Ryan, I think, how about you come along with me? We'll both operate the
I was
train.
thinking the same thing. We'll make a road trip out of it. It will fly. I'm not driving to Orlando, but we'll fly down there and
I'm taking the bus there, so you guys can make the drive
yeah,
down.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, when are you coming with the tour to the
I do everything but drive the bus on that tour. So, yeah, you better believe it. Selfishly, of course I'm a theme. I mean, I'm wearing my Zip and Pippin
I
T-shirt.
noticed that.
I mean, diehard, come on, Green Bay fan. Go Elvis. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's
I was
you know,
wondering if you're going to bring
it's,
up that was Elvis Presley's favorite roller coaster.
trust me, it's all we talk about when we reference Zip and Pippin. It's like we're required to say that, I think. But no, it's I only create events that give kids the world of things that I also, if I have to give up my entire week of traveling, I want it to be at places that I want to go to. So of course I travel to every single one of those theme parks across the country.
Sure. Well, I tell you what, let's reconnect around then when you're in town, and we'll talk about how the tour's going and what you guys have
Yeah,
planned for the near term future, and we'll move from there.
cool. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you so much,
All right.
Stephen. So once again, it's Stephen from Give Kids the World. That's givekidstheworld.org. Thank you so much.
One. Ryan, it was great having Stephen on from Give Kids the World. Just a great organization. And again, if anyone has time to volunteer, definitely do it when you're in the Orlando area. It's going to be a life-changing experience for you. Talking about experiences, Ryan, you recently were in East Tennessee, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg. So what'd you do while you were there?
Don, I did a lot. I actually stayed at Dollywood's Dreammore Resort, attended Dollywood's 50th anniversary of the song I Will Always Love You by Dolly Parton, of course. Um, I got to check out Big Bear Mountain. It is not open, but I got to see it in its full circuit beauty. Um, I saw the Hatfields and McCoy's dinner show, which was really, really cool. And what else? Oh, yeah, I went to a new putt golf place that's called the Toy Box that's themed to toys. But you know what? We don't really have a lot of time to talk about this. So we're going to be putting this on YouTube exclusively. So follow us on YouTube by searching for the Attractions Group podcast and giving us a subscribe. And that way you can hear all I had to say because there's some really interesting things going on at Dollywood and the Dreammore Resort.
And I have to ask you, while you were in Tennessee, did you get a chance to check the construction progress of Bucky's,
Uh,
which is right across the street from that
I
exit
did, and
407?
it's so the construction is exactly where I thought it would be. Right on the hill across from the exit. They were painting the sign, the Bucky sign, on the
Okay.
gasoline awnings. So basically, as it stands now, if all the construction workers walked away, you would be able to recognize it as a Bucky's at this point. It opens in a month, so the better.
Well, our last episode, we mentioned if we got over 500 followers, we would give away a Knott's Berry Farm boysenberry pen. Very, very good item. And we also, on our Twitter, um, put out a post that if you interact with this, you get a chance to win a Attractions Group podcast T-shirt. So what we did in terms of the Knott's Berry Farm
That's an awesome pin.
pen is we have now, I think it was 502, 503 subscribers. So we just randomly, went up and down the scroll and picked a winner. And the winner is, they go by the name, the Cappy Man. So the Cappy Man, you are the winner of the Knott's pen. And what we need you to do is we need you to direct message us and claim your prize. And then we'll touch base with you and get your mailing address and the other information that we need to send this to you. And then in terms of the interaction on our post for the T-shirt, uh, the winner of that was Shanna Cook.
Shanna Cook. All right. Cool. Yeah. So
Shanna
to be
Cook.
clear how we operate, I saw that tweet when you guys did, and I was like, what's your plan with this t-shirt? Because I don't have a t-shirt to give them. But but fortunately, it's not hard to make a t-shirt. But we got some cool ideas for the design and stuff. And Shanna, if you want to
Yeah.
reach out to us, send us a DM. If anybody knows any of these two individuals and you want to tag them in the Attractions Group podcast to remind them to send us a DM, that would probably be helpful to them. And us, because now we're stuck with a t-shirt and a boysenberry pin that we're trying to give away. But yeah, congratulations to them. We're going to do more of this. So make sure you're following
Yeah.
us on
And if
Twitter.
you have interest in Attraction Group Podcast T-shirts, I mean, certainly, again, on our Twitter, tweet at us. Tell us you'd be interested in a shirt. There's some other souvenir items that Ryan and I have kind of kicked around that we'd be interested in introducing if you're interested in those kind of things. But as we grow as a channel and as a platform, there's going to be more those kind of things. We have to kind of make sure that we find ways to create more awareness for ourselves. So by wearing that T-shirt, that's going to be one of the ways that that's going to happen.
Yeah. So, appreciate those who followed us on Twitter. We appreciate those who interacted with that tweet. We've grown a lot, especially in the last month or so. It's been an extraordinarily successful March. It's already kicking off to be an extraordinarily successful April. So Don and I are both very excited, and we are so grateful for you for being along for the ride. With that being said, it's time for the segment that everybody's been waiting for.
And it is time for the Pick Six. Now, this is a compendium of news and notes from around the attractions industry. And Ryan, you're going to kick it off.
I am going to kick it off because Universal, for story number one, Universal actually issued a new patent. Now, patents don't necessarily mean anything, but they are kind of a indication of what different companies have planned for the future. But Universal patented a new wild carousel ride. So I'm looking at the article for it, and it's a figure eight design. It's a choreographed ride system and methods, is the way that they described it. This patent was filed on March 30th. It describes a type of trackless ride system for vehicles that can move up and down while rolling side to side, influenced by user input while moving relative to other vehicles along a ride path. I know that's a mouthful. It sounds super exciting, and it has Epic Universe written all over it, doesn't it?
Yeah, really, really exciting concept. Looking at the different renderings and that they had of it. But what I like about it is it's taken a classic attraction, the carousel, and finding a way to reimagine it. And I think this comes to be. I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree. With the patents and stuff, I mean, especially Disney, Universal, the big boys like that. Apple's known for this too. They file patents for stuff and nothing ever comes of them. But with that being said, y- the research and development is there for this product. So maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't. But I'm in the camp of hoping that we do, because that's pretty cool.
I do too. I mean, it's going to be very, very exciting, and I'll use the term wild with the experience that you can have on that.
You would.
All right. Next on our list of the Pick Six, the wait is finally over, Ryan. Tron has finally opened at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. And looking at the different online reviews in that, it seems like it's been worth the wait.
Yeah. So the particular article that I was working with, when drawing the story together, pointed out an interesting fact. Since how long has it been since the announcement? I think it was like
It's been a few
1,000
years
something
now.
days.
Yeah,
Obviously it
yeah,
was
like three or 4 years, about different or distance between that. It was rolling along right before, a lot of momentum and everything, and then the pandemic hit.
okay. So Don, without looking at the article, I know you looked at this, but I don't know if you remember or not. How many days has it been since the announcement of Tron?
I'm gonna go with 1,200.
Well, Don, under typical circumstances, you might be right. However, according to this article, and this is the words of the article, not me. It's been 2,089 days since the announcement of Tron.
2,089 days. Well,
2,089 days since the announcement of Tron. Worth the
okay.
wait, though. It really has been.
About 6 years. You know what? Now I think about it, yeah, about 6 years. 2017, 18. That really wasn't that far.
Yeah, yeah,
That far
and you
back.
got to
So
think
yeah.
it had a 3-year pause on it because of the pandemic. In 2020, they boarded up the building essentially. So, it works out. My understanding is the ride experience has been very good. So they've really had a really kind of banger 1-2 punch between Guardians of the Galaxy and Tron recently. So,
Mhm.
the competition is definitely heating up in Central Florida. But Disney's not taking a line down, are they?
Not at all.
No, I completely agree. Awesome. So let's go with story number 3. What do we got going on here? Oh, speaking of Disney, not taking it lying down. Um, there's so many articles out right now wondering if Disney is going to add a fifth theme park, like a fifth gate. And that's been speculated for a long time, but there's now evidence for the fact that they're considering it. Part of the Reedy Creek Improvement District developer agreement shows that there are plans in the works to add an additional theme park by 2032, which sounds like far off, but that's less than 10 years from now. There are 4 theme parks, and if one additional one is approved through 2032, and they want to add 14,000 new keys through 2032. I'm guessing is that hotel rooms, you think? Keys?
Hotel rooms.
Okay, so 14,000 new hotel rooms. So that is, you think a big hotel is about 400 rooms. So that's almost 4 giant hotels, because you think of like a normal Great Wolf Lodge, I think is about 400 rooms, right? And that's a big hotel.
Mhm.
So that's pretty impressive. Don, if they were going to add another gate, what do you think they could do differently? Like, what do you think their take on it could be?
Well, I think let's first start off. One of the reasons I think they'd want to do this is just for crowd control. You want it, they're usually packed at each of their 4 parks, so it's a way to kind of spread that out a little bit and offer a better experience than what guests may be receiving today. And I think the other piece of this is it seems like it's a little bit of a counter to what Universal was doing. So with that being said, I think they can do a lot of things. A lot of IPs to work with. So it'll be exciting to see what develops off of this.
So, if you were going to give this a 1 to 10 chance, with 1 being absolutely not and 10 being definite, where would you place it? Just top of your head.
Well, I'd put it at an 8,
You think it's pretty that
maybe
possible?
9, that it will happen. Yeah, eventually. I mean, it's going to have to happen. I mean, they need uh, to kind of spread out the crowd a little bit, like I mentioned. But yeah, I think an 8. It'll happen. You're talking what 9, 10 years down the road. It's plenty of time to plan and get everything together to do that. They certainly have the land to add a fifth gate there. So I think 2 or 3 years from now, we'll probably hear a lot more, a little bit more concrete, confirmed type things. Right now, it's just a lot of talk.
Yeah, I agree, and I know that, I don't know if it's Reedy Creek or Disney particularly, was purchasing a bunch of land that is designated for like nature preserve. This was a couple years ago. And the reason why they were doing that, it wasn't so much to develop on it, but it's one of those things where if they can prove that they're preserving nature in one place, they can develop on originally wooded areas in the first place, and that to me is kind of like an indicator. I don't think that they'd have to purchase 300 acres of woods that they'll never use to add Star Wars. I think that we're talking about a gate here.
Hmm.
Awesome. What's that?
Yeah, I think that it'll be good. Again, 3 4 years down the line, we'll know a lot more about that. Uh, Number 4 on our pick six, Air Force One at down in Georgia, Atlanta area for Fun Spot, made its debut on March 31st. It has opened to rave reviews with the coaster enthusiast community. A number of them already calling it, one of their, if not number one already, it's definitely in their top 10. They're just raving about it. What have you heard?
I've watched a lot of the vlogs and stuff. I didn't have the opportunity to go down there for its media day or anything like that, but yeah, some people are saying that it could be the best RMC, which has a lot of great competition between Steel Vengeance, Iron Gwazi, Lightning Rod. I mean, there's a Mount Rushmore of coasters, and a lot of those are RMC. So if this is going to sit on the same shelf as them, then I got to make it down to Atlanta.
What I like about it, Ryan, is it's beautiful looking with the colors, the red, white, and blue. So if you're a photographer, you're going to like that. So I think even if you're not someone that's going to ride that type of ride, because it's going to be pretty intense, with the inversions and that, it's still something that it's going to draw you to it. You're going to look at it. You're going to take pictures of it. So I think that's a great thing.
I agree, and I think that probably the best thing that sums up the way that I think a lot of people are feeling is I regularly watch my friend Brandon on Theme Park Predictions on YouTube. He basically kind of when he did his review of it, he's like, I had to ride this like 10 times before I could actually come up with the words for it. So the fact that it left him like breathless and, I've got to collect my thoughts and stuff means that there's a lot more to the story that the ride's telling while you're on it than an average ride, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, it just had, like I said, just rave reviews, and that's great for Fun Spot.
Awesome. Yeah. So good for them down Fun Spot America, Atlanta. Okay. Next story. So, uh, I almost didn't include this because it sounds so absurd, but I found several articles. They're thinking about putting a Silicon Valley themed amusement park in Silicon Valley. Futureland is the term that they're using for it. It's going to be situated near Baylands Golf Links, and this is in the Palo Alto area. That's where like Steve Jobs grew up and stuff. It's in the Bay Area, uh, and apparently this is like a lot of city officials have said that. Um, this is actually something being discussed. So, but they think they could bring in a potential 20 to 35 million dollars in annual taxes to the city, which would be a revenue of $500 million. I would say if you do the back engineering on that. Um, my concern would be if you know anything about Northern California and theme parks, it often happens that the theme park becomes worth a lot less than the land is worth. And that happens more often than we want it to happen everywhere, not just Northern California. Um, would you visit a Silicon Valley themed theme park in Silicon Valley?
Well, I think I definitely would want to check it out if I was, within, say, a 2 or 3 hour drive of it. Yeah, I think I would. I think the concept, it's interesting from what I've read about it. I just don't know about the location, though. I think you're going to have to rely a lot on the locals, and I don't know when you're just relying on locals if there's enough there to make it work long term.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like people typically, uh, nowadays don't throw a shovel in the ground until they're pretty sure it's going to be successful. But with that being said, I mean that's one of the most expensive areas in the United States. And so the land itself would be terribly expensive and the value's only going to go up. Um, and the equity in the land is only going to go up in terms of like, what if Apple wants to buy it? Are you going to say no to them? When, yeah.
Yeah.
What if HP wants to buy it? There's so many companies in that area that are based out of that area that they could buy it and just make a public park for their employees, and they have the money to do that. So I chalk this up as questionable, but I mean I included it because I thought that it was a speculation that some idiot had. It turns out the idiot was me because there's serious talks about this.
Yeah. For me, everyone that I know that says they've been to Silicon Valley, they work there.
Yeah, absolutely, because you couldn't afford to live there unless you worked in Silicon Valley.
Exactly. With that, number six, our final of the pick six, Carowinds, North Carolina, South Carolina, right there on that border there. It turns 50 this year. It's opening in 1973. They've added several new rides, brand new area this year. Really doing it up well for their 50th anniversary.
I'm so excited for them because I know how that company does 50th anniversaries firsthand. and that was the best season ever. So I'm excited for all my friends in the Carolina area to experience that, because I assume it's going to be. I mean, obviously it's not the same because it's not the same story, but um, just to celebrate such a milestone like that for a park is just so excited to be a part of. My first ever experience with that, that in my memory was, Cedar Point with their 150th was incredible. Kings Islands was, I couldn't ask for any more. Um, and then you got Carowinds, and then a lot of the other parks within that chain itself are also hitting 50.
Yeah,
The
Worlds of Fun turning 50 this year.
Yeah, yeah, and I think next year you have some. Well, you have King's Dominion coming up too, in
Hmm.
1975, right?
1975,
We're gonna
correct?
have to go on a 50th anniversary tour of the podcast when our podcast is barely not even a year old, but we'll visit
Yeah, they've
parks that
got
turn
a
50.
yeah the new area, Aeronautica Landing
Hmm.
that they're opening there at Carowinds. Just a perfect fit
Looks so good,
for
doesn't it?
that part of the country where navigation, is what they're known for. So I just think it's a great tie-in uh, to where they're located. It's going to look beautiful from what I've seen of all the renderings and just photos that I've seen people posting, um, on social media about it. So I do have a trip planned to Carowinds this year. Not exactly sure when I'm going to go, but I cannot wait to see the new area. And that park has really grown over the past 12, 13 years since putting an Intimidator in 2010. I mean, it has become a destination.
Yeah, it's grown with the area. Now year round, by the way. Let's not forget that. So, you talk about a park that's way different than it was 10 years ago. Completely different product now, better product. And they're another one where everyone's posting on. I haven't been there yet, full disclosure, but everyone's posting on social media about the food there. They're in King's Dominion. They're talking about the food a lot, so that's cool. That means that it's the whole food thing is working its way out. It's not just Disney
Yeah, when
World that
they
has the
opened
great
up
food.
Harmony Hall, that was a game changer for that park. And
Mm,
the culinary experience there now is, I mean, it's top shelf.
that's awesome. Cool. Well, Don, do you have any final words of wisdom for our fine audience this week?
Appreciate you listening. Thanks for those that have interacted with our social media posts. There's going to be a lot more things that we're going to be doing for your chance to win prizes. I think that, we've always talked about wanting to be very interactive with our audience. Uh, Ryan and I have talked many times about, doing a live episode on YouTube, and we would want that to be audience participation. So, stay tuned. A lot of really fun things are coming to the Attractions Group podcast.
That's awesome. Well, make sure that if you're listening to us, please also subscribe on YouTube by searching for the Attractions Group podcast. If you're watching us, please also subscribe to the audio version on your favorite podcast apps, Apple, Google, Spotify, and so on, by searching for the Attractions Group podcast. There's a Buy Me a Coffee link if you want to make a small donation to the show to keep it going. We appreciate that. You don't have to do it, but we would appreciate it if you choose to. And make sure you follow us on Twitter because we're giving away stuff like boysenberry pins and T-shirts. And what was the Coney Island book before? That's at
Yeah.
attractions_GRP. So thank you, everybody. Good day. We will see you next week.